Have you ever stopped to question how much of what you think about women, and even what women think about themselves, is shaped by society and the media? Today we're diving into some powerful psychology facts about women and human behavior that just might change how you see them. In particular, let's talk about a group that's often misunderstood and undervalued: women with smaller breasts. On the surface it might seem like a trivial detail, just another variation of the human body. But the truth is, their experience in the world is deeply influenced by how culture defines beauty and femininity. Even now, in an age of progress and body positivity, physical appearance still plays a huge role in how women see themselves and how others judge them. Why is that? And what can we learn when we step outside these shallow stereotypes? Stay with me, because the answers may surprise you and inspire you to see beyond appearances, into the strength, depth, and resilience of women everywhere. Asterisk. Let's start by looking at one of the most powerful and damaging stereotypes about women: the idea that bigger breasts automatically mean more attractive, more feminine, more desirable. Have you ever wondered where that idea even comes from? It's not something we're born believing, it's something we're taught. From movies, magazines, and now social media, we're constantly shown the same images over and over: curvier bodies being celebrated, praised, and desired. Psychologists call this the schema effect. Your brain builds a shortcut based on what it sees repeatedly, and it starts believing that's the norm. But here's the problem: when we internalize these images without questioning them, we overlook the beauty, presence, and depth of women who don't fit that narrow mold. Women with smaller chests often feel invisible or judged unfairly, not because they lack anything, but because society has failed to see them clearly. So what if we chose to look beyond the surface? What if we challenged the script we've been handed all our lives? Asterisk. But here's something most people never stop to consider: having a smaller chest actually comes with its own unique advantages, both physically and emotionally. And these aren't just minor perks. They can completely change how a woman connects with her body. For example, have you ever tried jogging, dancing, or doing yoga when your body feels heavy and restricted? Women with smaller breasts often experience more freedom of movement. They can run, stretch, jump, even wear lighter clothing without constant discomfort or self-consciousness. That ease of movement isn't just practical, it's deeply empowering. Psychologists call this embodiment, that feeling of truly being at home in your body. And when your body feels free and functional, your mind often follows. You start to see yourself as capable, confident, and comfortable in your own skin. Isn't that what we all want? To feel good in our bodies, not just for how they look, but for what they allow us to do every single day. Asterisk. Now here's where it gets even more interesting and inspiring. Women with smaller chests often build an identity that goes far beyond how they look. Why? Because from a young age, especially during those teenage years when bodies seem to define your worth, they may not get the same attention for their curves. At first, that can feel painful, like being overlooked. But over time, many of these women develop something powerful: emotional resilience. Instead of relying on their appearance for validation, they invest their energy into other parts of themselves: their minds, their creativity, their personal growth. Psychologists call this self-complexity, having more layers to who you are. And here's the magic: when your value isn't tied to just one thing, like your looks, you become more stable, more grounded, and less shaken by life's ups and downs. So ask yourself, what are the layers that make you you? And how can you start building an identity that no one else can define for you? Asterisk. But there's another layer to this story, something more subtle, yet just as powerful. In our culture, women are constantly objectified, meaning they're treated like their bodies exist for others to look at, judge, and desire. And when that happens, many women begin to internalize those outside opinions. They watch themselves, even when nobody's watching. Now, women with smaller chests may not face the same blatant objectification as others, but that doesn't mean they escape the pressure. The constant glorification of voluptuous bodies in media can quietly make them feel like they don't measure up, like they're less than. This silent pressure can lead to anxiety, low self-esteem, and an endless search for validation. But here's the truth: no one deserves to feel invisible, and no one's worth should ever depend on meeting someone else's ideal. So what if we chose to stop measuring ourselves by someone else's ruler? What if we decided that our worth was never up for debate? Asterisk. But here's the beautiful part: things are starting to change. Over the last decade, the body movement has been breaking down old beauty standards and making space for everyone to feel seen. And women with smaller chests have become some of the most powerful voices in that conversation. Social media has given them a platform to celebrate their natural bodies unapologetically, to say, I don't have to look like the magazine cover to be beautiful. They're posting photos, sharing stories, and showing the world that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. And you can feel the difference, can't you, when a woman embraces her body exactly as it is. When she stops trying to fix herself and starts owning her uniqueness, something shifts. You can see it in her confidence, hear it in her voice, and feel it in her presence. That kind of self-acceptance isn't just inspiring, it's contagious. So, what would happen if you chose to see your body that way too? Asterisk, and this shift isn't just personal, it's cultural. More and more people are starting to question the beauty ideals we grew up with, asking, who decided what femininity is supposed to look like, and why have we believed it for so long? Women with smaller chests are reclaiming their story, not as women who lack something, but as women who bring something equally valuable: authenticity, depth, and a new definition of beauty. And here's what's fascinating, because they've had to look beyond the surface to find their worth. Many of them develop incredible emotional intelligence and self-awareness. They build strong boundaries, they know who they are, and that confidence radiates in a way no stereotype can ever touch. So maybe the real question isn't how well we fit into society's definition, but how boldly we're willing to rewrite it. What if your value has nothing to do with fitting in, and everything to do with standing out? Asterisk, and let's not forget how much relationships shape this journey too. Many women with smaller chests quietly carry the fear that they're not enough, especially in romantic situations. They wonder if their partner will see them as desirable, if they can measure up to those impossible standards we've all been taught. But something amazing happens when they meet someone who truly sees them, someone who values emotional connection, trust, and authenticity over superficial traits. That kind of love is healing. It rewires years of self-doubt and replaces it with stability, with respect, with the kind of validation that doesn't depend on appearances. And it's not just about finding the right partner, it's about realizing you deserve that kind of love. The kind that reminds you, you were never less than, you've always been more than enough. So ask yourself, are you letting the wrong stories about your body hold you back from letting the right people in? Asterisk, here's something truly fascinating. Many women with smaller chests end up developing a unique, unmistakable sense of style and self-expression. Why? Because they're not confined by the usual expectations of what sexy or feminine is supposed to look like. Instead of trying to fit into a box, they start experimenting with fashion, with art, with makeup, even with how they live their lives. I've seen women completely redefine what it means to be beautiful simply by leaning into their individuality, and research backs this up. People who feel like they don't fit the mold often become more creative and intentional in how they present themselves to the world. That kind of independence builds a personal brand that's strong, authentic, and magnetic, one that doesn't just follow trends but sets them. So here's a question. What would happen if you stopped trying to fit someone else's definition and started writing your own? Asterisk, and maybe the most inspiring part of all, many women with smaller chests don't just transform themselves, they help transform the world around them. Because when you've felt overlooked or underestimated, you start to understand just how powerful it is to feel seen. That's why so many of these women become advocates for change. You see them leading conversations about body positivity, speaking up for equality, and creating spaces where everyone, no matter their shape or size, feels like they belong. Social media has amplified their voices, turning their personal journeys into something bigger, a movement that empowers others. It's a beautiful reminder that healing isn't just about you. Sometimes the strength you build in private becomes the light that helps others find their way to. So ask yourself, how can you use your story, your struggles, to make someone else feel seen today? So here's what all of this really means. A woman with a smaller chest is so much more than what you see on the surface. Her journey is one of quiet strength, creativity, and resilience. She's learned to rise above shallow standards, to build confidence, not just from how she looks, but from who she is, time and again. She's shown that beauty has no single definition, and worth is never measured by a number, a curve, or a size. When you take the time to really see her, you'll notice her depth, her independence, and her ability to inspire others just by being herself. And maybe that's the lesson for all of us, to stop letting outdated ideals tell us who we're supposed to be, and to start defining ourselves in our own terms. Because when we do, we create a world where everyone, no matter what body they live in, can feel valued, seen, and truly at home in themselves.